All right, all right. Welcome everyone to our Thursday morning production call. I'm excited about this one. Just reading Go for No. If y'all are not reading that book, I'm telling y'all need to read it. If you've already read it, suck it up and read it again because it is a really, really good book. This is the fourth time I am reading it, and I am getting so many nuggets and reminders of what we do and how simple this business is. And you know what? It breaks my heart because it also tells me why so many agents fail in this business. And so we're going to go over a whole bunch of that kind of stuff. And really, it's going to be about how we're working leads, how to maximize your results, which maximizing your results means increasing your ROI, right? And everybody knows what ROI is, right? Return of investment. How much I invest in my leads, am I getting lots of money back, right, in return? So we're going to go over that. First, before, our humble ask is everybody take notes, right? We ask that you be somewhere sitting down with a notepad, actually writing, taking down notes. The last thing I want y'all to do is be on a call for 1 hour and not get anything out of it. We want you to get some nuggets and get better at your business. That's how you get better at your business, by taking notes. And then more importantly, right, get 1 to 3 nuggets. That's it. Don't try to implement everything you're going to learn. Just 1 to 3 things, and then just focus on that, right? Like go put that into your business, put that into your appointments, and you will get better every single week if you practice that. Then you can go back and listen to it again, right? We post it on Band, and then you get some more nuggets out of it. And then our humble ask is if it helps you out throughout the week, right, to help more families, that you post it on Band and whatever helped you. Because our other agents, right, that don't get to hop on, or just even if they're on here, if you post like, hey, this nugget helped me help this family, or I think Steven Tickle did that the other last week, right? And it allows other agents to see what's helping, right? Because we're one big community and we're all helping each other write some business. That's the whole reason we do this together. So we will get started. Again, right, our topic for today is how to work your leads and maximize, right, what you're getting out of them, being able to help more families and get more money out of your investment, because that's what this is. This is a business, right? And it's all about understanding how your business works, right? There's a whole bunch of different types of businesses out there where you invest, right? I always reference restaurants because that's where I came from. So I always talk about the hamburger spot, right? So you invest in hamburger meat, hamburger buns, right? And then you got to have employees and all these things working so that you can pull out your investment, right? And the really cool part about what we do is it's a lot easier than really any other business model I've ever seen in my life. Like I've owned car lots, car washes, restaurants, franchise restaurants, ran other businesses, right, as manager. And just the way we can simplify our ROI is insane. I've never seen anything like it. So we're going to dig into that. And let's get started, I guess. So again, a lot of these references are going to be Go for No. And in Go for No, if y'all are reading it, it talks about, right, knowing the statistics. It had a story in there that he wrote a book, right, and how most salespeople give up before the sale was even going to happen. And it's amazing of how many of us actually, right, because I get to talk to a lot of y'all, right? Like I ask y'all, if anyone's ever been coached by me, you know you better come with a whole bunch of numbers and some real statistics. Like what is your actual number, right? Like if any agent calls me, and what I mean by this, if they call me and they're like, hey, Joe, I need some help with my numbers, I'm not being profitable. And I'm like, sweet, let's go over it. And right, first questions I ask, how many leads you got? What are your dials? And they're like, well, I dialed like, I don't know, around 100. I'm like, well, what's around 100? Around 100 for you could be 50 or it could be 99. There's a big difference in there, right? Because what we coach, and everyone write this number down, what we coach is you should be dialing every single day, 200 dials a day, or book 6 appointments for tomorrow, right? It's either or, depending on the lead type that you have, right? Sometimes we can dial 50 dials and book our 6 appointments because you have, right, some of our newer leads. Sometimes if you're working our older leads, right, our B5s, B4s, it's going to take you 200, 300 dials, right, to book your 6 appointments. But if you want to have a successful day, like how do I know I did really good today? Right? Is can I tell my mentor? Can I tell myself? Right? Because we're a business, we're our manager, right? Did I dial $200 today, or did I book 6 appointments? Either one of those equal a successful day, because I'm doing the activity to know that I'm gonna win, right? And I want to talk a little bit about that, because a lot of this is mental, right? Like when you're reading Go for No, it's talking about just understanding, and why people give up is because they get stressed out because they think they're not doing the right thing. And so I want to talk about the reminder of a lot of us like before Symmetry or before doing this, how many of y'all worked a regular job where you got a paycheck every 2 weeks, by show of hands? Okay. So I want y'all to remember this. Okay. At your regular job, you worked 14 days, and you worked 14 days before you received a paycheck. Like nowhere in between there did this week, right? Like Brooke, you worked all 5 days this week, right? Nowhere in there did your other job say, hey, you know what, Brooke, we're going to go ahead and make a deposit for you. Right? No. And in fact, you could have worked overtime. They could have called you and say, hey, I need you to put in more hours this week. So you might have worked 60, 70 hours this week. And did they send you a paycheck on Friday? No, because your paycheck was in 2 weeks, period. End of discussion. You gave labor, right? You put in the work, and you would not receive a single penny until, right, 15 days later or whatever it was. Y'all remember that, because it is in your head that you're having a bad week. It is in your head that you're having a bad 4 days. It's in your head that you're having a bad 2 days, because guess what? You were just doing the work. Right? So because I dialed 200 or 300 dials today, because I had, right, yesterday, my schedule, I had 10 appointments scheduled for yesterday. 10, right? 3 of them didn't show up, 3 of them rescheduled. I sat with 2, the other one sent me a text and said they'd call me later, and they never did, right? And I didn't write a single app. No, that doesn't mean I'm doing bad, right? I'm just putting in the work, right, for my paycheck to come in like a normal job.
Brother, give me a call, please.
We are just lucky that here we'll get introverted, right? We'll get extra little paychecks in between there, right? As we find our applications. But y'all remember that, right? Like when you're going through the process, you remember normally you only got a paycheck every 2 weeks. So there is nothing wrong with putting in 2 weeks here worth of hard work and not getting a deposit. You are doing the exact same thing you did at a W-2. Nothing has changed.
Usually when you start a new job, you barely get into the cycle.
Like 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? Because you came in the middle of the pay cycle.
Yeah.
So I want y'all to grasp that concept, right? And then I want to go into the fact that you should only, right, we normally only got paid every 2 weeks, so that shouldn't matter here. And then it's understanding, right, what we're working and how we're working our leads. Okay. And I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of us give up on really fast. So in the book, it also talks about, right, the sales process. And one of the biggest things that stood out, because so I've read it 4 times, but I also walk in the morning. So I'm also listening to it over and over. And the cool thing is it's a really short listen. So I've actually listened to it this month alone another 4 times by my ear. Right. And one of the biggest things, it gets to a part where it talks about that he says it's sad that most salespeople simply fail because they didn't do enough calls. And I want y'all to think about that. Most salespeople, that means that, right? Like, unfortunately, I'm telling y'all the truth right now. Some of y'all are going to quit, and it ain't because you were not good at this. It is not because you had bad leads. It's not because you didn't have a script. It's not because of your mentor, right? It is simply, I want y'all to write this down. If you are within 90 days, if you are within 6 months of starting here at Symmetry, I want y'all to write down, if I quit, it's because I didn't do enough dials. That is the reason you're going to find failure here. And I'm just giving y'all the numbers. We get to work with hundreds and hundreds of agents now at this point. right? You gotta reach out to families, right, that have sent in a request. And then even better, it talks about the book, or in the book, it talks about like what kind of business you're in. And we're in a pretty cool business because the reach outs that we do, because it talked about the two different kind of reach outs, right? Are they doing cold calling, right? Where they're just knocking on doors, right? Or are you calling people that actually want our right information about what we do? And it was really cool because he talked about he took a sales team and pulled them out of a lead system like we have, right? Where we're talking to people that have actually requested help. And he pulled out a couple of agents, right? And he put them to door knock. And listen to this stat, right? So the normal agent with leads was writing 1 to 2 applications a month. How many of y'all, raise of hands, are writing 1 to 2 applications a month or less? Right? So I want y'all to listen to this stat because it was really cool. It stuck out to me a lot. So he said, I pulled these agents out, right? So like the ones that raised your hands, imagine we pulled you out of this system and said, hey, no more leads for y'all. No more people that are actually interested in this. And he goes, I want y'all to just go door knocking down these neighborhoods, right? And he goes, I want you to be able to, I think he said 60 doors, right? Go knock down on 60 doors, right? So go knock and just simply, and it talks about insurance actually. And he goes, I just simply want you to, when they open the door, just simply say, hey, you're not looking for life insurance, are you? And then go, hey, how did that process work, or how did the experiment work? He goes, oh, we failed horribly because I think he said every 59 people,
He said,
right,
no, he
said
said,
no.
he goes, you're not trying to get a sale. He goes, I just want you to be able to say that phrase to as many people as you can before you get a yes. They want to know that number. And he talks to 59 people and say, you're not interested in insurance, are you? And on the 60th, they said, oh, yeah, as a matter of fact, I am interested. So based off those numbers, that's where he gets every 60 people, you get a sell. And then they find out that from only getting 1 or 2 policies every month, that the agents just need to reach to 60 people a day, and they're getting a policy a day
A
just by hitting.
policy a day. Listen to that, right? If you right now are writing 1 to 2 policies a month, it is not your skill level. It is not the lead. It is the amount of dials you are making, right? He just referenced it, and the reason he referenced it to making them go do door knocks is because he even gave them a harder stat to hit, because these are people with no interest. The leads you're calling have some interest, right? So he sends them all out. They got 1 sell a day. That means at the end of the month, you would have 25 applications if you work 5 days a week. Think about that. 20 on a 4-day, on a four week month. You would have 20 applications if you got 1 app a day. If you reached 60 people, right, and got 59 no's and got 1 yes. Those are insane stats. I remember when I first read the book, and Jeff, this is still me driving to families' homes, dude. And Chris had us read this book, and I'm like, dude, that's an insane. I'm gonna go for no. I remember my job was to go get in front of it. I had to drive to people's homes, right? Like, how many people's homes can I get to? Right? I didn't care if I showed up and they didn't answer the door, right? We had little post-it notes. So I would even take extra leads so that I can go knock on a door, stick a sticker so that I can get 1 extra contact. And it was insane, right? $380,000 in production for the year, $240,000 in deposits. Like, these numbers are insane of what we can do.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about that. I mean, if you're just, I mean, who would make 200 dials, right, to get 3 or 4 appointments booked? And that's what we have to do sometimes. And that's, we always go, oh my gosh, I dialed 200 dials. Yeah, but you book 4 appointments or you book 6 appointments. Who cares?
Yeah.
So I love that. That book's so freaking good.
Dude, I'm so fired up with it, right? And then another statistic, right? So I hope everyone understood that, right? If they went out and talked to 60 people, they were going for 59 no's. right? And I want y'all to remember that 59 no's, 1 yes, but they did that every single day, and they were getting 1 application a day. You'll be rich here if you do 1 application a day. I promise you, that's 30 applications for the month, right? Or even 20, that's 20,000 in premium or 30,000 in premium, depending on the month you're looking at. You are making bank. So when I made 240,000 in 2019, that's what I averaged, was 30 applications a month. I promise you, you will be in a double 6-figure income if you just go find 1 application a day. And it's as simple as contacts, right? And then he talks about the statistics of, hey, I'm talking to a whole bunch of people, and how do I resolve all my leads? And how do I know I'm doing well? I'm going to share my screen because they talk about these statistics. And when I heard this again, years ago, I posted this on my wall. So when my brother joined my office and my sister, I actually had this, and this is what I put in front of them. James, I don't know if you remember or if you still have yours.
I still have it.
Right? These are our sales statistics, and I posted it in Band the other day. And it's scary for people that give up on a lead, right? So how many of y'all have called the lead and they hung up on you and you never call them back? How many of y'all have gotten a lead and they picked up the phone and yelled, right? Hey, blank off. Hey, stop calling me. Hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Hang up on you, and you never call them back. Right? Because that is not what we train y'all to do. And I want y'all to look at these statistics and why, right? So 48% of sales people never follow up with the prospect. That means 48% of us on this call, almost 50% of us, when one person picks up the phone, whether they hang up on us or whatever they tell us, we never call them back. Y'all want to wonder why B1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s are so good? Because statistically, half of those leads in our system in every level, doesn't matter which level they're at, they're gold because they have never been reached again.
And this even goes with appointments that you run and they say, hey, I need a couple of days, get back to me. Those numbers run true here. 50% of the people are not following up. They're just like, they're not interested.
Yep.
Big mistake.
And we're going to dig into that. Right. So just remember these numbers, right? 48% of people, and I'm going to post this on Band again because I love it. But 48% of us will never call a lead back, or even if it was an appointment, we'll never follow up with them just because of us. Feelings we have, right? Because when I start coaching an agent, this is what I hear, Bridget. I hear, well, I don't think they wanted this. I think that I did something wrong in the appointment. I feel like I'm bothering them. And you know what the first thing I tell them, Bridget, is, you know what I hear? I hear I. Nothing you just told me is what this client is feeling or what the client is experiencing. It's all about us because this is an emotional game, right? Like it hurts to get a no, and it hurts to get run a perfect appointment, Bridget, right? We did the whole FIF and we did it all perfect. And then it's like, yeah, let me think about it, Bridget. Right. And then it's all about us, right? It's all about our emotions, and we're hurt, and we never follow up with these folks. Christine, you got your hand up.
Christine. Hey, Joe. Okay, so look, just one quick thing. This is my issue that I'm having. So I bought B5, 1, 2, and, just a mixture or whatever. And so this is my problem. I'm calling and I'm not getting a response. So I'm like, maybe I'm not calling the right time of the day. So I'm kind of switching it up and calling in the evenings, and then on the weekends, it's still no response. So how many times do you think we should keep on calling till we get a response?
Yes, I'm going to dig into that in a little bit. So
Okay.
yes, and we're going to go into how many times, when to stop. So that's a good one. I'm taking some notes here for you.
Thank you.
I'm going to cover that. Yes, thank you. And please, anyone, unmute, interrupt, as long as it's due with the topic, right? This is a very interactive call. We want to help y'all help more families. So the next one, right, is 25% of salespeople make the second contact and stop. That means 25% of us, only 25% of us, are going to go back and call somebody the second time. But that's just an attempt, right? That means you called them once, they hung up on you, and maybe you got the courage, Sam, to call them back one more time, and then the same thing happened, or they didn't answer, and you're like, whew, thank God they didn't answer, right? I remember these feelings, right? And that's it. That lead was resolved, right? Because the first time they yelled at me and the second time they didn't answer. Hope that's not what you're doing, but 25% of us on here are, right? 12% will only 12% of us are going to call the third time, right? And this is triple dialing contacts, right? I want y'all to remember that, right? When we say a contact, that means you've triple dialed them. So for all of y'all that are, and pardon my French here, are being a little sissy and only dialing twice because you feel, right? Because you feel, I feel, because everyone that's ever told me, hey, I can't triple dial, they always tell me, I feel like I'm bothering them. I'm like, that's good. We don't get paid off of your feelings here, right? We get paid off of results and knowing our numbers, right? So I hope you all are triple dialing because you must triple dial to get a result here. So only 12% of us are going to do the third contact. Only 10% of sales folks are going to go after the third. Then it's the results of when a sale is made. This is scary. But thank God for this number, because I don't know if y'all have heard my story. I had never done insurance before and I was horrible at it. I had to dial over 1,000 dials. I was competing with my buddy Val Zarn, who was a expert in the game. And let me tell you, he could sit with 2 families and sell 15 policies. And I had to go out and sit with like 20 to get 2, right? Because I was just horrible at it. It was what it was. But because of these numbers here, I would go out and win every single day, every single week, every single month. And at the end of the year, I made more money than just about everyone in our organization because I just simply outworked everyone. Was not my skill level. I have 4 kids, a wife, a house. I had to pay my bills. It was not a choice of, can I get good at this? It was, I'm going to outwork, right, my skill level until I get good at this. So 2% of sales are made on the first contact. Think about that. That means the first time you sit with them, only 2% are going to let you write the policy there. 3% on the second one, 5% on the third contact, 10% on the fourth. 80% of our sales are going to be made between the 5th to 12th contact. I want y'all to remember that number. 80% of our sales are going to be made between the 5th and 12th contact. And I want to teach y'all on contact and a mindset of contact, okay? Because if y'all have ever heard us, and I'm going to stop sharing this. Stop. How do I stop? Why didn't it say stop? There it is. So 80% of sales are made in between the 5th and 12th contact. And I want y'all to think about the contacts like this, okay? The first contact for the client was made when the letter hit their home, okay? The letter hit their home, right? Or if it's a digitally, because this is going to work for everything. If it was a digitally, the first time they saw the ad, right? The first time they saw a letter, an ad, or anything like that, that was contact number 1. They filled it out or they called it in, they send it to us. Contact number 2 is the first time anyone that's working A-leads calls them for the very first time, right? We call them, maybe they don't answer, maybe they do. Let's say they do. I'm going to go on the best scenario possible, Danelle, right? So first contact is they received the letter, they mailed it back to us. Second contact is I called them and they actually let me book the appointment. Third contact, they actually showed up for the appointment. I'm still not in the 80% of most sales. They showed up for the appointment, right? They gave me a think about it. So that means I scheduled them for 2 days later, 3 days later, Bridget, right? That's fourth contact. Maybe they ghosted me on that one. How many of y'all have had that happen, right? Think about it, and then I scheduled you for next week, and then they didn't show up. Oh, guess what? You're not even in the normal part of the sales process. You're not in the 80%er. So how many of y'all, after a think about it, and you scheduled them, and you called them, and they said, hey, you know what? And I think, Brooke, me and you talked about this. Hey, you know what? I still haven't thought about it. Can you call me back next week? And they push you back one more time, right? That was the fourth. Then the next one, right, is you rebook them the third time after you've already sat with them. Now you're in the 5th. Now you're in the game. I want y'all to think about that. You are barely in the game of the 80% of most sales made in all types of sales. So think about that. you had to call them, they had to show up, they had to no-show you twice and then show up for you to be in the game of saying, hey, I'm gonna write an app. This is why I love our leads so much, because this is an A lead. Right? Now we're going to go into the process of, hey, let's work some bonus leads. A bonus lead, first time, right? It was touched. Second time, so the first agent called them, right? We're going to stick with Danelle or Bridget, right? They called them, they booked them, they no-showed her, told her to think about it. She called them on that fifth time. They're like, you know what, Bridget, I still haven't gotten my bills yet, right? Because if y'all haven't worked an A lead, let me tell you, it's all the same answers, right? Anyone that's working bonus leads and you're like, I got to get me these A leads. You're going to find out real quick. It's going to be the same thing. You better get good at these skills, right? Bridget, they're like, you know what? I still haven't gotten I still don't feel comfortable. Why don't, you know what? Me and my wife talked about it. Call me in July. And we're in May. That's 2 months later. Do you know what Bridget's going to do? Because I know I can tell you honestly what I'm going to do. Bridget, what are you going to do? Unmute. Tell us the truth.
I'm going to book them for July and find a good day that's going to work for them, probably July 1st. I'm going to say, I'm going to check in with you July 1st. And then I will check in July 1st.
Right. And so she's a better person than I am, because I'm probably not going to call them after that. Right. I'm telling y'all the truth. I got 40 CI leads coming in every single week. They better be lucky I can get to them that week. I'm just telling y'all the stats, right, of why a B1, 2, 3, and 4 are so good. Because they didn't tell us no. They just told us not yet. And that is in the book of Go for No.
Hey, Joe, really quick on that, though, too, if you think about it, they then are a B1 whenever you are reaching back out. Yep. So just perspective, right?
And I love this, right? Because y'all have to understand that, right? And then then you go into a B1, a B2, a B3. They've gone through that process. When are most sales? When are 80% of sales made? Does everyone remember? Between what contacts? Danelle, 5 and 12. 5 and 12. That means even inside the B5 range, they've only been contacted a few more times. They're not even in the 12th contact range. So y'all wonder why Elijah can go out and work B1s and 2s and go crush it. The man knows his numbers, and he just knows I just need to go to the process. Hey, have you been helped or not? Hey, have you been helped or not? Hey, have you been helped or not? Right? And he's going to find the yes, the yes, the yes, the yes. He just gets a lot more no's, right? Now I want to go on the concept of understanding, right, the process of contacts, right, of the leads you're working. So let's take off the table. I don't care what kind of leads you're working, whether they're a digital lead, right, whether they're a CI lead, an A lead, a B5 lead, a B4 lead. You got to understand, even if you restarted the sales cycle, how many touches you have to do to get a sale or give yourself the opportunity to make a sale, right? So again, I'm gonna go with B3s and 4s, because this is what we start a lot of agents with, B3s and 4s.
Can we do the screen share?
Please. Right? You got to understand these concepts, right? Of, hey, when do I know I should get results, right? Like, how do I know I have the right contacts to book an appointment? So if y'all haven't seen this, can you zoom in a little bit, James? Make it a little bit bigger. If not, no worries. There you go.
That worked? What happened?
Go to that page and then delete. It's just got empty spaces. The second page.
Oh, it's spinning.
Where'd you get this guy?
There you go.
There you go. Okay, and I don't know if you can zoom in a little bit and view. No, go to view, up top in the middle. There you go.
Slide bar in the bottom right corner.
Oh, I'm a rookie at this.
Even that too. Yep. Bottom right corner too.
Anybody can do this business.
Yep. Even James, even a caveman can do it.
That's my quarterback.
That little percentage thing on the right.
You bet.
But it
Better
doesn't
go
show
for
up here on
hey,
mine, that's why.
if you saw the Tom Brady burn,
I gotta
you better
stop.
be like Edelman and just get those short passes.
Yep. Well, let me zoom in.
There you go. Zoom in, bottom right corner. You see 100%?
No, I can't because it's blocked off on mine because of the sharing.
Okay, there you go. Boom. Scroll up a little. Right there. A little higher. Really low.
Boys.
You're good. Perfect. Right. So
Not me, it's Jeff.
understanding your contacts of what leads you're working. Right. It doesn't matter which leads you're working. You just got to know the concept of when you're going to get a yes. Right. So if you're working B1s, every 3 to 4 no's, you're going to get a yes. No one promised you anything better. No one promised you anything less. Right. If you go all the way down to B5s, I love to talk about B5s because B5s is super easy math. If you go out and get 60 B5s, you better be ready, right, for 6 appointments, right? And everyone gets excited about 6 appointments, Sam or Karen. They say we get them 60 B5s and that, oh, I'm going to book 6 appointments according to these numbers. Yeah, absolutely. But you know what you better be mentally prepared for is 54 no's. That is where everyone gives up because here, I'm not even promising you in a row. Hey, I promise every 9 people you talk to, you're going to get 1 yes, right? So when you hit 18 contacts, right, you're going to have 2 appointments. No, you may go through 35 no's and then get your 2 or 3 yeses. You may go through 40 no's and then get 3 yeses. And then when you get into your 40s or 50s, right, you get those other 3 or 4 appointments that you're owed. That's the way it works. Right? But you just got to fall in love with the numbers that you're working. Here's the cool part. Anyone that actually puts effort in this, I've never seen them even hit these numbers because they're always way better. I've proven that with every single agent that has single-handedly wanted to work with me side by side. They have never been at these numbers. They're always way better than these numbers. That's what I love about Symmetry numbers. But just fall in love with this number right here. And remember, it's not about today. It's about large numbers, right? So if you have to dial 200 dials a day so that at the end of the week, you either have 800 to 1,000 dials and the numbers will always match up. But if you're working any one of these bonus leads, look at the numbers, right? And if you've dialed, right, if you're working B3s and down, right? And for the week, you've only dialed 200 to 500 dials. Do the math. Right? I'll do it with y'all. Let's say we're going to work B3s. Look at these numbers, Danelle. So let's say an agent called us and they dialed 350 dials for the week. I did really good this week, Danelle. I dialed 350 dials. Okay. But if I'm working B5s and I have 350 dials and I divide that by 6, right? That's 6. Am I doing that right? No. That would be 60. So we're going to multiply it, right? So every 6 no's. Oh, let me see. I'm working backwards. So if I dial 350 dials and I would have 58. Yeah, my backwards math. So then we do, if we got every 7 contacts, that's going to have 50 contacts, right? Am I doing that right? Hold on. My brain is having a fart right here. So we did 350 dials, every 350, well, because this is contacts. So let's say, it's a little hard for contacts going backwards, right? So let's say every 30 dials is when somebody, we'll go 20 dials. So I've never seen anything lower than 20 dials. What 20 dials means, if you're dialing within 20 dials, somebody's going to pick up the phone no matter what, right? So we did that 20 times, that's 17 contacts. So that means you went 20 dials, right? You hit send 20 times and nobody picked up the phone. And on the 20th, somebody picked up the phone. So with 350 dials, that only gives you the ability to have 20 contacts, right? So that means 20 people picked up the phone. But remember, you got to get 6 no's to get a yes. So if we're at 20, right? That means 17 people picked up the phone and we divide that by 6. I'm going to give you a better, that's only 2.8 appointments. Did y'all hear that? That's only the ability to have 3 appointments. So if you're working B3 leads and for the week, you only dialed 350 dials, you only gave yourself the opportunity to have 3 appointments. Now, and that's 3 appointments booked. at 350 dials. How many of y'all dialed 350 dials this week and are working bonus leads? Don't raise your hand because you probably don't want that number. Right? And then that's only booked appointments. I can't say that enough. That's only booked appointments. If you dialed 350, you didn't give yourself the opportunity, right? Most salespeople are going to quit here because they just simply didn't dial enough. Now, here's the cool part. If we know every 350 dials on B3s, I can book 3 appointments to 4, right? Because again, I'm telling y'all, those are very low numbers. Right? If I dialed 1,000 dials to 800 dials that we teach you to do, that means you would have had 9 to 10 appointments. You start falling into the numbers if you do the right activity. Right? Let's go. I think we're done with this one, James. And we'll post these on band for everyone, right? Because I can't. I fell in love with those numbers. And I remember I first called Chris, David, and I'm like, dude, I'm doing horrible. And he's like, well, let's look at your numbers. And I was way better than the numbers, right? Because I had like 6 appointments, and he's like, you should really only have 2. And I'm like, right? It's just a perspective of what I think I'm doing correctly. And this is why I can't emphasize enough. Are you dialing 200 dials a day or booking 6 appointments? Because if not, you will fail. Here are the next stats that I want y'all to write down, okay? The reason why we teach 6 appointments. Okay, so write this number down, 6. So if I have 6 appointments booked for tomorrow, okay, does everyone know what our average show rate is? That means the person that's going to show up for the appointment. Anyone want to volunteer that number? 50%, right? Man, I wish I had a 50%, but it's around 50 to 40% of people are going to show up for your appointments. So Amber, if I have 6 booked appointments today, right? And I'm going to go with the 50% rule. Half of them are going to show up. That means I only have, realistically, I only have maybe 3 shows, right? And if I have 3 people show up, and what's our close rate? Does anyone know what an average close rate? That means an average, right? Family's going to say yes, 50% as well. That is right, Brooke. Right? So if I have 50% of my families are going to say yes, right? I can't divide 3 by half, right? So that means I'm maybe going to get a yes in 1 or 2 homes, either one, right? That means I barely, if I have 6 booked appointments tomorrow, I barely have an opportunity for 1 application, right? Now, the good thing is we teach you to write multiple in a home, but do y'all see that number? So if you have less than 6 appointments booked, you don't have an opportunity to write an appointment or help a family write an application. Mathematically, you don't. I'm telling you, right? That's if you're an average number person. Think about that. If you don't have 6 appointments booked for tomorrow, no one's promised you an app. Now, here's the bad part. If you have 6 appointments booked for the week, that means maybe you have 1 app for the week. But y'all want to know how James, how many apps are you at for the week already?
11.
11 applications for the week. How many appointments have you had daily, sir?
6. Monday I had 9. I had 6 for Tuesday. 5 6 for Monday, 5 for Tuesday, and 4 yesterday.
Right. I'm telling y'all, I'm giving
I
y'all
sat with 8
low
people already.
numbers.
I've sat with 8 actual appointments I ran.
8 sits, right? Like the numbers are the numbers. Y'all got to fall in love with him, right? And now I'm gonna give y'all some really cool stats of why he has even a higher app count, right? So when we say you need to have 6 booked appointments for tomorrow, I don't care where those appointments came from, because everyone's at a different pace, right? Remember, we're trying to get to 12 touches on a family.
Wait, don't give them our secrets.
Right? So listen to these really cool numbers, right? 6 appointments for tomorrow does not mean 6 brand new appointments. That does not mean, Bridget, I need you to dial again today and have 6 brand new appointments for tomorrow. What 6 appointments for tomorrow means, do you have 6 on the book? I don't care where they're at in the process. In fact, now knowing that it takes 5 to 12 touches the farther along they are in the process, the higher the probability and applications in there. And y'all are going to love James's numbers because of this. Okay. So Bridget, James, when did you write 6, James? Monday or Tuesday?
Monday.
Right. So his Monday 6, how many of them were reschedules or, yeah, how many of them were rescheduled? I think we were going over your numbers.
At least like 3 or 4 of them more.
Right.
I
3 or
had 9
4
appointments.
How many of those were ones you already showed and just needed to tell you a decision?
Half of my reschedules, 2 of them.
2 of them. 2 of his appointments had already gone through the process, already been sat. They told him I need to think about it, but he still rescheduled them. Those were in already the 5 to 6 touches, right?
Yeah, I've actually rescheduled like 3 to 5 times on those.
Right? They were farther along in the process. So when you have your 6 appointments booked for tomorrow, right? A lot of us sometimes be like, well, 3 of those are not even real appointments, Steve, because they're think about it. Y'all are so backwards. They're farther along the touch process. Those are highly likely to write a application because they're farther along the know process, right? The touch process. Think about that. So you should fall in love with no-shows. You should fall in love with think about it. You should fall in love with anyone that you've already talked to at some point, because they are simply farther along the touch process to be an application. The other ones, the ones you booked yesterday, and this is the first time you booked them, the likelihood of them no-showing you, one is 40 to 50%, right? And then the likelihood of them saying yes right there is very, very low according to the statistics. Think about that versus the one that no-showed you already 3 times, right? Even though you didn't sit with them, they no-showed you twice already and you had to rebook them, and this is the 3rd time. They're farther along the touch process. So how are you looking at your appointments for tomorrow? Right? Are you looking at them like, and then do you treat them that way, right? Because you have a bad mindset. Like, Bridget, this one's no-showed me 3 times. I don't even know if I want to show up for him, right? So when you show up, you maybe show up 3 minutes late. You show up with an attitude. And all because you didn't understand the sales process, that they were farther along the touch process to more likely give you a yes and allow you to help them. I want y'all to think about, and I'm preaching to the choir here. These are all my thoughts. The reason I tell you those thoughts is because I used to think that. Like, I got it, and mine were even uglier. I got to drive all the way to Lake Havasu for an hour and a half for this guy that's already no-showed me 3 times, and he wants me to walk into his house with a smile on my face. Right? And it was thinking backwards. Not until I read this book and understood these stats, I was excited. I'm like, sweet, I'm on my 3rd sit with this guy, right? Or my 3rd rebook, because he's highly likely to write an application. I can't tell you, or better yet, I can tell you, they felt the demeanor, they felt the attitude, they felt the spirit, because I was treating them way more excited because I knew they were so much closer to the sales process versus me being me, right? Y'all know what I mean when I say that, right? Being rude to them, right? Or being a little short with them because I'm like, this guy's not going to buy because he's no-showed me 4 times. And let me tell you, they felt that, right? So are you allowing your client to feel that because you don't understand the sales process, right?
And those touches, I just wanted some little advice on that. Those touches that whatever, not excuse, but you got to remember these are regular families. They're doing everyday stuff just like yourself. Whether, oh, hey, I forgot I had to take the kids to the park or they had a game, they had baseball practice. Hey, I had to go to a birthday party. You're going to hear it all. Hey, I have a plumber coming in. I forgot. You hear it all. You need to just take notes on those and build rapport on those. And just be like, oh, hey, did you ever get that plumbing fix? I know it's a hassle, and start relating to them and use that to build rapport. That's just going to give you more credibility. So whatever they tell you, I had a birthday. Hey, how was the birthday? You just got to touch on those, and that's going to have them show up and you're not being so pushy. Like, okay, you know what? Not a problem. We'll go on the next. We can reschedule for tomorrow. So I still keep it the same and try to when I reschedule. You're going to reschedule within 24 to 48 hours. So always keep, it's not always going to happen, but keep that in mind. And those touches, that's why it's important for you to have those 6 appointments because, hey, that's my reschedule. I'm just building on that one. And now in the likely, he already knows me. Hey, we talked 6, 7 times already by this time, you know? And I was like, hey, I know, I get it. I had a birthday party, you know, that's fine. You know, I was busy. I got tied up with another appointment, which if you have 6 appointments and you're running them back to back, you're going to be glad he told you, yes, hey, I get to eat now, or I get to take a little breather, you know, or I have time to dial to book my next 6 appointments. You're going to enjoy those reschedules and not show those no-shows if you actually work the system correctly.
So good, James, right? Because that, right, again, can you flip the switch of how you see a no-show or touch, right? Are you upset because they're calling you or they're canceling, or are you appreciating the touch process that they're in, right? Are they on the 3rd? Are they on the 4th? And then because you now know these numbers, are you taking advantage of it so that the next time you touch, there's rapport? Right? How many of y'all have heard me by the time we're booking our 3rd appointment with the CI lead? I'm excited because we get to say little stuff like, John, you haven't showed up on the last 2, buddy. Like, are you sure that's right? And there's so, because we've talked 3 or 4 times already. And he's like, no, Joe, no, I swear it was because, right, my kid's basketball. And then the other one, I completely forgot. I am so sorry. We actually went out to, I'm like, nah, I'm just messing with you. I just want to make sure, John, it's a good time for you and Mary tomorrow for sure. Like, nope, yep, I'm putting it on my calendar, Joe. We are going to make sure we are there. But that only, I'm telling you, the only times I have ever had a conversation like that is the 3rd rebook. Because that's the only time I can crack that joke, right? So are you appreciating that, right? And then, like James said, right, when they pick up the phone on that first one or the second one, and they're like, oh man, James, I completely forgot. I can't. I'm taking my kids to baseball practice. Oh, I completely forgot, right? I'm at the grocery store doing this, this, and this. Because you now know the process, are you taking a nugget that's going to help you on the next call? Oh, sweet. Now you're at the grocery store. No worries. What are y'all doing? A family barbecue? No. It's my kid's birthday. So I needed to pick up balloons and this and that, whatever. Sweet nuggets, right? Because I'm thinking of it differently. I'm like, oh, they're just farther along the sales process. Bridget, it's not a no-show. It's not a they stood me up and I'm mad at them. I'm excited because I took advantage of the opportunity that I got to talk to them. I'm now on my 3rd touch with him, and the next time I sit with him is going to be the 4th. I'm excited, right? Like we're getting there. We're getting down the line of 80% of sales are going to be made in the 5th to 12th touch, right?
And then you pick up little stuff too, like, hey, you know, I'm always working late, and you book like a 6 or 7 o'clock. I'm like, hey, you know what? I could do a little bit later because I know usually we miss it. Let's do it 8 o'clock. You know, I'll say a little bit later. You know, make sure we take care of this for you. So now you're doing something special. They feel like, hey, he's gonna work extra late, so they're gonna show up even more by doing that. So let's make sure you do it. You know, when's a good time? I'll stay a little bit later for you. Let's make sure I want to make sure you get, you know, taken care of on this as well. So you pick up little stuff like that as well. You know, don't just keep rebooking it for the 7 o'clock, and he can never make 7 o'clock because by the time he gets off, he's rushing. He's not gonna rush for this. But hey, let me make an exception for you. Hey, I'll stay a little bit later. Let me do it 8 o'clock, 8:30 for you. This, you know, just make sure, you know, this is a good time that you'll be show up, you know, and they'll do it for you. So,
dude, I love it, right? Because you understand, we had an appointment yesterday with a guy at 11. When he picked up the phone, he was a young guy, and I'm like, 11, that sounds like a lunch hour. So the first thing I asked was like, hey, are you at lunch? He's like, yeah, I only got 30 minutes. I'm like, oh, dude, no worries. In fact, your wife's not here, I'm assuming, right? Because she doesn't work with you, right? Because I see the lead and I have Jennifer's name too. And he's like, yeah, no, she's not. I'm like, you know what? We probably got to do this some other time because don't you want her to help make the decision, right? That way you don't get in trouble. He goes, yeah, absolutely. I'm taking advantage of the opportunity of this is a touch and I'm getting info. I'm the one rescheduling because I just simply know the step of the process. I'm not going to run an appointment, right? Here's a little fun fact, right? Don't run an appointment during lunch. You ain't writing that, right?
driving.
They're at lunch, right? How many of y'all have tried to run an appointment during lunch? I have lots of times. I don't think I've ever sold one ever, right? Because they got to speed back to lunch, right? They can't see your sales presentation, right? They can't see the numbers. They're not paying attention because trust me, even though they think they're telling you they're doing this. Oh, okay, yeah. What? Mortgage protection? Oh, okay. They're not paying attention to you, right? I take advantage of the touch. It was simply the third touch for this guy because we've already booked them once. We booked them again, but it sounded right. He was 39 years old. Trigger, 39 years old during the day. All my 30s, I work during the day, right? So I don't think he's off unless he works in a restaurant. So my first question is, hey, are you at lunch? Yes. Right? How many of y'all don't ask that question? And then you run an appointment and they're like, hey, I got to go quickly. Do you have, you never even found out that they were at lunch. You ever thought about that? You thought you were running an appointment and you didn't even know they were at lunch. And you're like, man, they just kicked me off the phone because he said they had to go. You weren't picking up all the signs, right? They were under 55. It's 11 and 12 o'clock. Those are triggers. That's lunchtime, right? You think you're running an appointment, but you're not. They're at lunch. They just may not tell you that because you didn't even ask the question, right?
And also the later the appointment, the higher the chance you'll be writing the app.
Right? So all I did was retouch it. Danelle hates it, right? It's always the last one, Danelle. Right? So we just simply rescheduled them. And he's like, yes, I want Jennifer to be there. Perfect. Another touch and another little rapport, right? Because I know where they're at the sales process. So again, when I look at my 6 appointments for tomorrow, how excited are you on reschedules? Think about it, right? Where they're at in the touch process versus you thinking, hey, that one's not going to show. This one's not a good one. I don't care where they come from. Do you have 6 booked appointments for tomorrow? That gives you a high probability of writing an application. If they're farther along the touch process, higher probability. That's how James gets 6 applications in one day with 6 appointments?
9.
9 appointments for the day, right? Because a lot of them were farther along the touch process, right? Some of them were already at the 5th or 6th because a lot of those, right? He had to rebook 3 times. So if he rebooked them 3 times, that means they're really at number 5, right? Because when they received the letter in the mail, the first time you touched them and then 3 rebooks. And now the think about it, right? And now the one that they showed up on him, they're at the 7th touch. And guess what? He wrote multiple applications in that home. And he had 2 of those appointments.
Yeah, I had 9 appointments. I sat with 3 rescheduled, 3 no-showed.
Right? So they were just farther along the touch process. So that's got to excite you. And I hope y'all get to see a different perspective. Chris, you got your hand up.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I just want to add to that. I am so super excited about this, that we're able to do this on here because I'm brand new. I'm brand new. But I can tell you from running appointments before where you're knee to knee with someone sitting across the kitchen table, a no-show on that after you've driven half an hour to 45 minutes, that no-show sucks. A no-show on here, that just gives me time to do something else.
Dial more.
Get more money, dial more, get more ahead of it. Because I tell you, this is so much that nobody should ever take offense from somebody no-showing them on here, really. It's just another opportunity as far as I'm concerned.
I love it, right? And I'm going to go into that, right? To Christine. So I'm going to give y'all some nuggets on this process, right? So now knowing all this that we know of our process, right? Of where they're at in the sales, how excited are you to rebook or get another opportunity to touch a client, right? Because then you start looking at this at a whole different perspective, right? So number 1 rule, write this down. If I get no-showed, my job is not to go to the fridge, not to go do laundry, not to go wash the dishes. If I get no-showed, you told yourself you were working this hour or 30 minutes. Your job, your number 1 job, if your appointment does not show up, is to book 2 in its place. Get back on the phone and book 2 in its place. Because this one no-showed me. So now my objective is how many more, right? Can I get 2 more leads? 2 more touches, right? Can I get them 1 more, right? Farther along the process. That's why any of y'all that ever been put on, right? Like when we tell y'all, hey, go to 20, 40 CI leads, and those first 2 weeks suck, right? Because you invested $800, right? In 40 CI leads, and you're like, Joe, I only wrote 2, it barely covered. I'm like, just wait. And then week 3 and 4, it's like, holy cow, I wrote $5,000. I wrote $6,000. I wrote, right, 12,000, right? It's because you put them through the touch process. You gotta allow that to happen, right? So number one rule, I get no-showed, I put 2 on its place, right? I don't care if they show up or not. You just touch, you make 2 more touches. You're putting someone else through the process, right? Knowing that, how do I work my leads? I don't care if they're CI leads, digital leads, you need to touch them, right? That means you got to call them. So how do I dial my leads properly? One, you should never have more than 60 leads in a bunch to call, okay? Why? Because if you have 60 leads and you triple dial 60 in a perfect world with no one answered, that's 180 dials just to go through them in the morning. How many of y'all dial one batch at 180 dials? I know none of y'all do, right? I'm loving on y'all because I know y'all don't, right? Y'all would post it because you'd be super proud, like, holy crap, right? I think Cage did it earlier last week because he posted 412 dials in a day. When y'all do something crazy, y'all post it because you're proud of it, right? I'm just teaching y'all those numbers. So if you have 60 leads, and you go through them, people are going to pick up, they're going to say no, whatever, right? You're probably going to get about 150 dials in the morning, right? So from 9 to 12, whatever your morning dial session is, 3 hours, you should be able to get to 150, 120 dials through your first batch of 60 leads. You're going to resolve probably about 15 of them if you actually made that many dials. Later to that day, you got to call that same batch of leads again. Now, because you resolved a couple of them, you're probably down to 100 to 120 dials. But listen to those numbers. If you have 60 leads in your batch, if you're not dialing 200 to 300 dials in a day, you're not even calling every single one of your leads twice a day. And how many of y'all have heard, right? We need a touch. Right? So if you're not touching them for 3 days in a row, that means you have to do that 3 days in a row. So if you don't dial plus 200 dials in 3 days, you ain't even calling them every single day. And if you're not calling them every single day, do you know what they see on their end? Karen, they see your phone number on Monday around noon. Right? But you did a great job, Karen, and you dialed 120 dials today, but that means you only went through about half of your stack today. And then tomorrow you do another great job and you went through 120 dials. But guess what? That was the second half of your lead. So that means this person still didn't get called Tuesday. And then you do it again Thursday or Wednesday. Maybe you get through the rest of your leads and you finally call this person a second time 3 days later. Do you think they remember y'all's phone number? They don't. You now, guess what you are? A telemarketer. Right? So this is why you have to get a bunch of leads, right? And when I say a bunch, no more than 60, and you have to be able to triple dial them at least twice a day, right? I'm sorry to say that's probably more than 200 dials. That's why I say dial 200 dials a day or book 6 appointments for tomorrow. Because if you got your 6 appointments for tomorrow, the likelihood of writing an app is great, right? But y'all have to fall in love with those numbers. And it doesn't matter what type of leads they are. I promise you, I have to put up those same kind of numbers, even with A leads, if I want, right, a $10,000 week. Right now, I think I'm at like 7,000 for the week, but it only happens because we put them farther along the touch system, right? Like how many times have you been able to move them through the process, fall in love with these numbers? You will maximize how much money you make. I promise you. I challenge, right? In fact, the only 2 people, James, you've done it. So here's fun facts. There's only been 2 people on here that have taken me up on that challenge. Make sure no matter what, you have 6 to 8 appointments every single day. Danelle, what was y'all's best week? Or David, what was y'all's best week doing that?
Dollars wise?
APV wise?
North of 24, 25.
25,000 in a week.
Yeah, beat me. Mine was only like 18.
Those are the only 2 people that have said, hey, Joe, I'm going to put this to the test. I challenge any one of y'all to put that to the test. I promise you're going to have a $10,000 week. You will sit with enough people to get yeses. It is not you. And this is where I want y'all to take the pressure off of you. It is not your skill set, right? It is not, can you write an app? It's not, do you know the real script? It's none of that stuff. You just haven't given yourself the opportunity to sit with a family that's going to say yes. Right? Like you can't say, hey, Joe, I need help with my appointments. And you've only sat with 3 this week. has nothing to do with how good you were. We're really good, but if we sit with 3, that doesn't promise us an appointment or an application, right? It has nothing to do with you and everything to do with how far along are you with your nose and the touch process of that lead. So I hope that brings a lot of value. The reason this was the topic is we have a ton of new agents that are right burning up B3 leads, A leads, and new people on CI leads and digital leads, and the question we keep getting is, hey, I'm doing something wrong, or these leads are not good. Nope, it's activity, and you haven't given yourself the opportunity to write an application. You need 4 to 6 sits. So write this last number down. You need to be able to sit with 4 to 6 people before we can say you should have an app. 4 to 6. That means they have to show up and you have to go through the sales presentation. 4 to 6 of those sits. Then, right, talk to me after you're at 6 sits and be like, hey, I haven't helped the family. Very likelihood you're going to have several applications and you're going to be happy. So I hope that brought a lot of value. We'll post this back on there. Again, fall in love with your numbers, get with your mentors, right? Ask them how many leads you should have, but everyone should be 200 dials, 6 appointments for tomorrow, and you will absolutely go crush it. So thank y'all.